Yo, it's me. I'm here. Real content. What a day. What a day. How long has it been? 9 minutes? That's long enough, isn't it? Isn't that just long enough, chat? Let's go. I'm here. Turns out today we're getting an actual stream. We got some raid bosses to look at and go over, kinda. Apparently there was like some kind of balance post or Mythic Plus post today or something. Wow. Max, how did raid testing go? Raid banging or what? I mean, they need to retest some stuff. So barring the stuff they're retesting, yeah, I think it went like pretty good. So the bosses are, I mean, we'll talk about it later. The bosses are okay. The theme is out of this world. A couple bosses I think are like questionable execution. Cool ideas though. Are you planning on doing another Race to World Last for this season? You know what? I don't know. I think it's going to be really, really hard to do. Because the Race to World Last, when the new season is a simultaneous release, what that means is they're releasing Heroic and Mythic all at once. That means the Race to World Last happens, or usually happens the day before the new season comes out. Actually, is that true? Is that true? Like, is Cutting Edge for the previous raid, isn't it a week before? Bro, if there's a dead week, yes, I will be doing the Race to World Last, and it will be fucking hype. Okay, I will tell you this. If Mythic progression doesn't start literally the day after Race to World Last, I will be doing a stream for it. It'll be amazing. Oh, wait. Someone says it's the night before the new raid opens is when Cutting Edge ends. All right, never mind. I will not be doing it. They are wrong. Okay. I do actually, what Kelly McCutie is saying, I'm pretty sure is usually how it works though. Because I remember in season 2 of Sarkareth tier, I wanted to do a Race for World last for Mirdrasil, and a Mirdrasil was a simultaneous release, and that is how it worked. Like, but that's weird that you can. Okay, there's maybe two things you guys are arguing about. So there is not a heroic week. That is true. There is no heroic week this season. I don't know if that's been officially announced, but they've stated multiple times that that is what's going to happen in interviews and stuff. So that is true. There is no heroic week, but the question is, does Cutting Edge end the day before a new raid comes out, or does it end when the patch for the new raid comes out? And I'm pretty sure you can still get it until the new season starts, and a new season usually starts a week after the patch, so... But you can gain eye level and get Cutting Edge during the first week of the patch. I don't think you can gain eye level. I'm pretty sure Kelly McCutie's right, by the way, even though I wish it was the other way. It's a pretty fun stream. I mean, hey guys, I would love to do the stream, but the reality is I can't do it if we start progression the next day. I'll just be too busy. Or if I am not too busy, I can maybe do it for like a few hours or something. It's really, really good content. So, I mean, maybe I'll try to do some extra work to where I can do that right before it starts. But I can't, like, stay up late, though. I have to, like, go to sleep because we start raid pretty early. Max, can you just lose this race for content, please? What? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Are you basically just saying if I lose this race, your favorite guild will win and that will be content for you? Why would it be any more or less content if we lose specifically, you know? I feel like Echo's really good. Hopefully you EU fans aren't like thinking it's all over because last race was a pretty big win, right? Like Echo can win any race that they participate in. They're really good. Don't worry about that. Oh, he means lose the race and watch the Race to World last. I see. That's what you mean. I see. That makes sense. W idea. Echo will be standing on top of the Stromguard Tower. Bro, why? It's crazy how mad people got about that. Dude, we were even catching strays. People were, like, mad at Echo for, like, exploiting the win of the tournament or whatever. And they were like, bro, Liquid would have done it too. Which is true and not true. I think when people saw that clip of Gingy knocking Trill off that spot, they assumed that we were going, or he was going to just try to stay up there the whole game because we knew the lightning didn't spawn or something, so it was like a strategy. Bro, we were getting killed. We were just trying to, like, find a spot to heal. We had no idea how the lightning works. But also, I don't think Gingy did either. But here's another thing. If we didn't know how the lightning worked, and at the end of the game we happened to be on top of that tower and lightning wasn't spawning, do you think we would have gotten off the tower? Fucking, of course not. No one, literally no one in that tournament would have gotten off the tower if lightning wasn't spawning up there, by the way. And you had the height advantage. No one. Right? So I don't understand why people were so upset about it. Like, literally everyone would have done that. But, dude, I had, like, people in my Twitter mentions, like, saying, like, basically implying... Here's what I said. Here's what I thought was crazy. I can even pull up the tweet, bro. Here. What did I tweet? This. So about Trill being in the same spot before Gingy showed up. Look. If you watch Trill's, here's the thing that I don't get. Here's what I said. If you watch Trill's POV, he's just escaping and trying to find a spot to heal. We didn't know about the lightning thing, but also none of this matters because every other team would have done the exact same thing Gingy did as soon as they realized it. Okay, so at this point, I'm saying a couple of things, but the most important thing is I'm saying Gingy did nothing wrong and everyone would have done this. But still, I'm getting, like, mentions, some of which I replied to, mostly from Echo fans for the next, like, couple days, of people just saying, like, implying that I was lying that we didn't know about the lightning thing. But, like, why? Like, why would you even care? Like, first of all, we didn't. I'm not lying about that. We don't know about random spots where lightning doesn't spawn. But, like, why would you feel the need... If you're an Echo fan, why would you feel the need to prove that I'm lying here and we did know about the lightning thing if I'm also saying Gingy did nothing wrong? Like, if I said after this we didn't know about the lightning thing, and then I said, but Gingy did, and he's a scumbag and cheated to the victory, then I could totally... The motive makes sense. If you're an Echo fan, you're like, you fucking liar, I'm going to look through every VOD you've ever done and fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I totally get it. But I didn't say that. I said... Gingy did nothing wrong. So why would you feel compelled to, like, prove this part wrong? You know? Like, that just... I just don't... Like, I don't understand the mind state of it. Like, I had this interesting back and forth with this guy. Are you implying... Like, he's responding to this exact thing. Are you implying Gingy knew about the lightning thing and intentionally exploited? Sore loser vibes. I'm like, what? With the most iconic line, yes. What else could you be applying? Why else would you declare that you didn't know about the lightning thing? Nobody said you did? Bro, it's a... First of all, a lot of people were saying we did. Bro, it's a Saturday. And then he immediately calms down and he goes, yeah, fuck, you're right. Can you unban me, by the way? What did you do? It was the race roll first, slightly toxic. W. I like how this ended up. I love when I hit him with the bro, it's a Saturday. He's like, God damn, you're right. It is a Saturday. What am I doing? But yeah, there was another one too, bro. Like, it was this. Then this guy. Look at this. Look at this, bro. If you watch Trill's PV, he's just escaping to find a spot to heal. This guy, Roger Clown 42. So it's a burner, right? It's like a Race to World first burner, probably. What about this? Another spot to heal, or are you going to feign ignorance to maintain that image? And he's talking about just getting high ground earlier in that game. He clipped this of me and him finding high ground. He's implying that, like, us finding high ground for one of the final circles means that I'm feigning ignorance, and we were actually planning not to go up here just in general, but to go up here specifically to make lightning not spawn. Which, by the way, to my knowledge, when you're up in places like this, lightning does spawn. But that doesn't mean it's cheating to have high ground. It's really smart to have high ground, especially when you have a poke build, right? But, like, here's the thing. All of that doesn't matter. The fact that he's wrong doesn't matter. Here's the thing that I don't get. Why? I don't get it. Why? If I'm saying your favorite streamer did nothing wrong, why do you feel the need to be like, yeah, well, also you're lying? Do you know what I mean? Like, I actually don't understand where, like, the motive comes from. And then I responded, I just said, we just wanted high ground. I have no idea how the lightning works, but Gingy probably didn't either. Why is everyone mad? And then I even got more responses to this. Bro, this guy goes, damn, that's crazy, because here's a clip of you and Trill playing where he does the same thing and comments how he can't die up there. Let me show you the clip. It's from Peekaboo's stream. I don't even know why this exists, but, like, this is Peekaboo reacting, I guess, to a game of ours and just a random pub game.
Maybe I can make a play here, actually.
Maybe I can make a play. We're, like, in a 1v2. We're super behind. This is when Celestial Barrage just lets you get up to high areas.
Yeah, I'm making a play.
Okay. Going for Girl Twink?
Okay. Crazy line. I'm going for Girl Twink. I get killed by this Celestial Barrage, and now Trill is up here. Again, with high ground.
Oh, no, I'm dead.
And here's what he says. I don't think I can die.
Only I can die up here, actually.
You want to know why? Because their abilities, Celestial Barrage, don't hit up here. Right? And then you'll hear me say this.
Wait, for their abilities, they can rhyme you.
They can rhyme you. I can't die up here. They can rhyme you. We're not referring to the lightning. We don't know how the lightning works. We're just referring to they can't get up here because they don't have the same abilities he does, right? Or actually they do, just maybe they don't know how to get up here, right? But this fucking Echo fan, I'm assuming, like, linked this, damn, that's crazy, like a, yo, this you gotcha moment of like, bro, of course you know how the lightning works because you guys did this in some game that I found on a YouTube video, which doesn't show anything about lightning whatsoever. But again, I'm not, here's what I said. You know, he's not referring to lightning. He just means they can't kill him with their abilities. That's why I mentioned Rhyme Arrow. All that aside, though, why does any of this matter? Like, why would you or anyone else be mad enough to try to look up a clip, in quotes, proving this? It's a for fun creator random BR game mode tourney. No one cares. But, like, why? I don't... Does anyone have a, like, valid reason, like, psychologically why 3 or 4 burner accounts would go through the effort of making a burner or logging on their burner in multiple occasions to prove what I'm saying is wrong when I'm not even saying their streamer did something wrong? Like, I don't get it. Like, what, why? Why are you saying Echo fans without knowing? I can tell you why. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong. I'm making an educated guess. So basically, Echo won this tournament, and then people were shitting on Echo. All right, so if you're an Echo fan, that would give you a reason. Why would anyone be mad in this scenario? Okay, people are mad that Echo won. You're probably happy Echo won because you're an Echo fan, right? And then now people are saying like, oh, well, Liquid would have done the same thing as a way to excuse what Echo did. Now, if I'm saying they didn't do anything wrong and they're still coming after me, the only people who have motive to actually be mad enough to, like, defend Echo or attack anyone else attacking them, which is, like, that narrative that we would have done it anyway as a way of doing that, it would be someone who is a fan of Echo or maybe isn't a fan of us, which there are plenty of those people, just like there are fans of Liquid who are not fans of Echo, right? You don't think it's a... I'm not saying I know for sure, but do you think it's a, like, really far reach to assume that someone who would feel mad enough to either call me out or try to prove I'm lying about something I'm not lying about, don't you think it's, like, decently likely that that is true? I think it's a reasonable guess. I think it's fair. It's a fair take, but maybe we could be wrong. What is it? I'm an Echo fan, but I respect your take a lot. It's the most fair for everyone. Yeah, I'm not saying, I guess maybe why people be upset when I say that is you're assuming that I'm saying, like, all Echo fans are dumb, or by calling someone who's being an idiot an Echo fan, it's like, you're an Echo fan. You're like, well, it's not all Echo fans. Well, I'm not saying that either, right? There are plenty of really dumb Liquid fans. They show up every race when we win, and then they just are fucking extremely insufferable. I'm very aware of what they look like, right? I mean, the guy's name is literally Roger Clown. Yeah. What is it? Reaching? Most people wanted Czar and Pika to win. I don't think this was a Liquid versus Echo comment. Really? Okay, so definitely most people wanted Czar and Pika to win. I said this from the beginning of the day. I called the fuck out of this, by the way. I said Czar and Pika are gonna... Like, more people were watching Zarya and Peekaboo than they were actually watching every other channel combined. So they were obviously going to be like, if they don't win, everyone's going to be mad. So it's certainly likely that they could have been like a Czar Pika fan. But why would you specifically want to, like, go after me in this case? That's what I'm saying. By the way, we're talking way too much about this. This is the most irrelevant shit ever. Like, who cares? Well, I mean, I guess clearly I care because I'm talking about it. But, like, I just don't understand the motive to... Like, I'm saying... Every other team would have done exactly the same thing as Gingy did as soon as they realized it. We didn't know how the lightning worked. Which, by the way they're assuming we knew how the lightning worked is they saw a picture of Trill on that tower with 1 HP trying to heal. So they're like, of course Liquid was going to do this minutes after he was there, which is a reach, right? But, like, I don't know. I just find the psychology of how people act on the internet interesting. And you may think that there are, like, agents of chaos and trolls and people who just try to sow discourse. That's true. But also those people and a lot of other people still operate under motive. Like, why would they have a reason to be mad enough or care enough about this to actually message it? And I just find the idea that I'm saying this person did nothing wrong. We would have done the same thing as soon as we realized it. And then they're still like, yeah, but I bet you were lying about this first part with zero evidence to say that that's true. Multiple people. It's just fascinating. It was a fun tournament, though. I'm surprised we did so well because Trill's been playing a lot, but like last time, I barely played. Or last time I played every day. I played like 8 hours a day before the tournament last time. And we did really well. Like, probably Czar and Pika were the only team that played better than us, even though neither of us won. And then in that tournament that we played on Saturday, that was the same, except I didn't practice at all. I played 4 total hours before the tournament. I had a rough start to the morning, but there was a couple of games where I fucking owned. I had, like, multiple 6 to 8 kill games. But Trill hard fucking carried a couple of those early games for placement, because we got, like, knocked out super early, and he just ratted his way to second. Was insane. What is it? You got warmed up after the first 3 matches? Yeah, I was fucking gaming at the end of that tournament. But, yeah, I did not start strong. You had a great 14 elim game. Yep. Yeah, we were gaming. What is it? Little topic change, but man, ahem. Class balancing on PTR sure is weird, huh? If only we had a guide or a chart, perhaps, that would help us know the class power levels. Am I right? It's not time for that yet. Little tier list. But also, a lot of people have been saying how weird and crazy the class balance is on PTR. Does anyone else... does everyone who, like, does this every season, do you at least acknowledge that this happens every time? Right? Like, the whole, like... The raid fights are not prepared. The Mythic Plus dungeons don't seem completed. Oh man, balance is so bad right now. Bro, every season this happens. Like, every single season. Tier sets are broken on PTR. This is all the same. It's no different. I guess a little bit different this PTR cycle, but it's not surprising because like Blizzard employees are off for like 2 to 3 weeks around Christmas. So like, hey, when you have a PTR cycle going up and in the other times of the year, the devs don't take 3 weeks off versus when they do take 3 weeks off, do you think it is more or less likely that there will be like slightly behind in some things or things are less completed or finished or done? The answer is yes, right? So maybe, but I don't know. It all feels the same to me. I've been through too many raids where balance seems absolutely horrible and then it ends up through changes pretty close to the raid or during the raid to be pretty normal. You know, there's usually a few really good classes, some that are bad, gets changed pretty quick. I don't know, I've just done it enough to not really go crazy about it, you know? But I can understand why a lot of people get super into it, though, because, like, I don't really specifically care about any one thing being good or bad. If something is really good or really bad, we're going to play around it. And I look at, like, all classes as, like, how you would use them to work together. But, like, most people don't look at the game that way, because that's, like, why would you do that? It's super weird. Most people look at the game very, like, through a narrow lens of, like, their class being good or bad. So when you're talking about, like, people being like, oh, this tuning is so bad, a lot of the time someone's like, their specific class is so bad. Because if your class is really good, or very good, or pretty good, or above average, would you be less or more inclined to, like, post in Twitch chat about how bad the tuning is? You're probably fine with tuning. You don't give a fuck if other people are tuned bad, right? Who cares, right? You're great. So it's mostly that. So it's not surprising that you see it every time. It's usually not always the same people. Never saw him read YouTube chat. Bro, I'm reading it right now. Max, did you catch the post from the WoW devs today? No, I haven't read it yet. We'll read it on stream. I watch your tier list and follow that as law for the entire tier. I appreciate you for thinking of me. That's good. You guys are wise to do that. A tier list that is made by 25 plus people individually ranking their spec amongst other people using completely different criteria. If you follow that as law, you are very smart and should continue to do that. And tell your other friends that that's the way it is as well. I want you to make more tier lists so you make more money. Yeah, tier lists do get clicked on, don't they? When is the cage fight against Pirate Software? Yeah, I don't like that guy. Yo, I heard there was some crazy shit going on in Classic the last few days. I'm gonna need Dorky to give me a breakdown. I like completely miss all that shit. Max, why don't you like Pirate? Well, he seemed like just a dude who could take zero accountability, but I thought that entire opinion, or that entire situation was like really overblown, like just super doesn't matter thing. All the like live stream fail stuff. I just don't like him because he called Fired Up a dipshit, so I'm gonna hate him for the rest of my life. Max, get Growl. He was crashing out. Oh. Yeah, bro. I haven't seen Growl in forever. I think he went full classic, bro. Max, did you see Tettle's video about how to fix Mythic rating? No, but those opinion pieces are always pretty fun to listen to. So we'll probably do that today. I mean, I'm gonna have to find some time to eat later, so. I have not watched the new Franck vid. I just woke up and saw that he tweeted out a new video, and then I retweeted it to support him, but I haven't seen it yet. New Franck vid is a banger. Guys, we can't watch all this stuff today. And I can't stream tomorrow either because I'm like filming all day tomorrow. But I can stream Thursday, though. That'd be cool. Has Max gone over the Mythic Plus stuff yet? Bro, I haven't done shit yet. It sounds like we have a lot to do, and I'm also going to rate the raid bosses with Dratnos. But if we have too much to do, maybe I can actually do that another time. Thursday's raid testing. I can go after that. Here, let's see what's on the old WoW head. Season of Discovery, face it. Bro, has there ever been a bigger fall off? I feel like Season of Discovery fell off a fucking mountain, bro. Like season 1 to where it is now. Crazy. When are we gonna get a Reppy T emote? Oh, did I tell you? Have I streamed it? My Lily broke one of her toes. Like, not her paw, but like one of her little toes on her paw. She fractured it. So she's been healing. She gets around just fine, but she like just doesn't put a lot of weight on it. Or any weight on it. And she just sleeps all the time, which she does anyway. I just don't even know how she did that. Like, I just don't know how... Like, how do you just break one toe as a paw? Like, it had to have gotten caught on something, you know? If it wasn't, like, the whole thing. She was being a dog. That is almost certainly how she broke it, yeah. Alright, let's see if we can find this. Hold on, I'm going to find the raid testing post. Oh yeah, I think they originally posted this for Friday, but then it got moved or something. Yeah, so they're retesting Muggsy, retesting Cauldron of Carnage. I'm interested why they're retesting Cauldron of Carnage. Maybe... There's a couple things I could see. But I mean, like, you could just do this boss just fine. I mean, the Mythic mechanic wasn't working for like the first 30 minutes. But then it was working after that. Maybe like a different spawn location for the toys. It got moved because Friday is TGP group stage. Yeah. After watching Dratnos' video, the Mythic mechanics look so overwhelming. Oh, I haven't actually watched Dratnos. I haven't looked at a lot of other teams testing Muggsy. I mean, Muggsy is definitely really complicated, but you could definitely do Muggsy on that test in a way that's like very repeatable and simple if you were looking to just make it as easy as possible. Versus like if you were getting a second cast of like bombs or jails, you know, you would have just been like dealing with insane things. Not to mention some things weren't quite working, but what is it? They live patched it, and I think most groups didn't really figure out the Mythic mechanic afterwards. Yeah. But like, I mean, it worked though. I mean, why they're retesting Rick Reverb totally makes sense. Well, I mean, most of the boss worked. The only thing that I think you could do on Rick Reverb that you weren't supposed to is you could drain the amplifiers. You could drain the amplifiers before you removed their little barrier. And I don't think you were supposed to be able to do that. But like, you still had to do that to get through the intermission, so like you could kind of just play the fight normally and you could still get rid of the amplifiers anyway. But also, not gonna lie, dude, Rick Reverb definitely, I would say Rick Reverb strongly qualifies as good idea, not great execution. I don't know. It's just, you can do the fight a lot of different ways that make sense. It's just not an awesome fight. Also a something that's kind of interesting about Mr. Reverb, and then just this raid in general. Have I showed you guys the like path for this raid? Right, so you can do Vexy, which I think is the first boss. Actually, let me increase the font size here. Okay, so you have like Vexy. And then you can do 4 bosses, by the way. You can do Cauldron of Carnage. You can do Mr. Reverb. You can do Styx Bunk Junker. Or you can do Sprocket Monger. Okay? It's a really weird raid layout. You can go to any of these bosses. There's 4 potential second bosses. Then you have to do all 4 of these to go in order to like One-Armed Bandit. And then it's just gone. Why did it disappear? And then Muggsy and Gallywix. So this is interesting for a lot of different reasons. They've literally never done this. This is a completely unique raid layout ever. They've never done anything really even like this. There's no wings. Like Castle Nathria like kind of feels like the closest, but there was defined wings. None of those exist here. Heimall was close. What was Heimall, right? Heimall was you did the first boss, and then you could do literally all of them. And then you had to do all of them to do the last boss, I guess. So it wasn't like this and then it was linear. It was like basically first boss, and then it was like Butcher, Bracken Spore, all those bosses, and then it was the last boss. Something like that. Oh no, you could actually do... Didn't Paragon do Butcher after Imperator Margok? I think they did. Yeah, okay, so maybe Heimall's the closest. But I mean, that was... Guys, Heimall was like 10 years ago. Heimall was more than 10 years ago. Heimall was 11 years ago. Crazy. You feel old? So... Yeah, really weird. But I don't know. I think these bosses are like kind of hard for pugs, bro. Like, okay, think about your 2-box in Mythic for the last couple expansions. You have the first boss in Vault of the Incarnates, and then you have the little council boss. Easy, right? Sarkareth tier, you have first boss and then Zakali Assault, 2-box. Easy. Amirdrasil, first boss plus Agira, easy. First raid of this expansion, you have first guy in this raid, and then it's just all easy, right? Nerebar Palace, that you could get 4 bosses easy. Bro, can someone name me an easy 2-box here? I mean, maybe they're just like really hard on testing and they're gonna get made easier. There was actually, that was the case on a couple of bosses recently, like past couple years. Like Agira. I mean, Agira was like way harder by design, and then they're like, wait a second, this is the second boss, and they fucking nuked it. But like even Cauldron, like Cauldron isn't hard. They don't make you change sides randomly, right? You can just change in the intermission, you're vibing. But then like kicking the dolls together, even though you could just have a couple of people do that, it's still like really involved, you know? And like someone can just one person can kick something at the wrong time, 2-stack dead, you know? Maybe the number's too high, right? But we were also testing with very low eye level. But I don't know, Cauldron just seemed like, okay, so whatever. Let's just say your 2-box would, I mean, does anyone else see a 2-box that would be anything other than Vexy and a Cauldron? Maybe, I mean, Rick Reverb, bro. Rick Reverb, mechanically twice as hard as, not twice as hard. It's like a step up from Cauldron, right? But like your 4-box, bro. Bro, if people were used to getting that nice little sweet 4-box involved in the or not the most recent raid, Nerebar Palace, you are gonna get your fucking brains beat in, bro. That means for a 4-box, you have to either kill Styx or Sprocketmonger. I mean, it's just right away, just straight ahead. Ain't no fucking way on Sprocketmonger. Styx, maybe if they make it a little bit more intuitive for like newer players, but there's just like the area denial mechanic would just kill pugs. You would just burn everything. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of hard bosses early. I mean, I think Blizzard is probably set to not make the same mistake again, which that mistake is we've made some earlier bosses too easy, so people get to Brood Twister too fast that shouldn't be there. People get to Tindril too fast that shouldn't be there. Both of those things did happen and are true. Those bosses were arguably too hard, but at least half the problem was people should have not been at that boss at that point. The other bosses were just too easy. There wasn't, and in my opinion, there wasn't enough bosses, because I don't think Rashinan was an egregiously easy 4th boss, right? 10 to 19 pulls average, right? That's fine. That's not too low, right? I just think there wasn't like a 5th or a 6th boss in between Brood Twister. Like Brood Twister wasn't out of line for being 4th from the end, and Rashinan wasn't out of line for being 4th from the beginning. The issue is there was only 8 bosses in the raid, so the jump was massive. So I just think there needs to be more bosses, but they're not doing that. So here we are. There's going to be, I mean, unless they massively change these fights, if you're an early Mythic guild, you were at 4 out of 8 Mythic early, you're going to kill Vexy. You're going to probably find a way to kill Cauldron. I'm assuming they're going to make Rick Reverb a little easier. You're going to kill Mr. Reverb, and I think you're going to be stuck on Styx for a while. I highly doubt Styx will be as hard as, like, Brood Twister, but it could be, you know? And then Sprocketmonger, actually, I don't think Sprocketmonger's that bad. These bosses, actually, I don't know. All these bosses don't seem that bad. I think one thing needs to be put in perspective as well. You guys watch testing, and I'm sure everyone, it's really hard to separate mechanical difficulty versus throughput difficulty. Like, for example, you could fight the exact same fight with 5 more eye level, and its difficulty would be massively easier. We were fighting all of these bosses with criminally low eye level, like so low. So all of these bosses seemed infinitely harder than they were, than what they will be on live, right? Max, do you think this raid will be 2 weeks on the race? I mean, no one can ever know that. Like, the only thing that makes an 8-boss raid take 2 full weeks, and I'm assuming what you mean is, like, literally 14 days. Like, 2 full lockouts, and then it goes past the 2-week mark. The only thing that could ever make something do that, in my opinion, is something being unprogressively overtuned or bugged for multiple days and it not being fixed, which I also don't even believe that could happen. They're really good at nerfing stuff now when it needs to happen, or fixing. Or they, I mean, isn't Sepulcher the only modern Race to World first that has gone past 2 weeks? Is that true? I might be missing one. Was there another one that went? Raz didn't go 2 weeks. Raz went until the day before Christmas, and then they just instantly killed the boss. They just nerfed it to where it died right away. What is it? You guys watch testing in quotes. Doubtful. Most people don't even learn the boss's name, let alone their mechanics. Most people, but not most people who watch my stream. I actually think there's a ton of my stream viewers that watch some version of raid testing, or maybe watch a Dratnos YouTube video like going over it. I think that's really common, actually, from what I see. Muggsy seems 10 times harder than Silken. You think Muggsy will be a 1,000 pull boss? I mean, I don't think it's really fair to judge Muggsy's difficulty for a few reasons. Number one, they're retesting it. Number two, we had criminally low eye level. Number three, it's a fight that kind of repeats itself, right? As soon as Muggsy is a boss that, like, okay, do you know how Silken Court was hard? Like, and I mean not testing version of Silken Court, which was probably the hardest boss ever, but like release Silken Court. That boss was really hard because nothing transferred. Every new phase, there was new dance steps that you had to learn. Muggsy is like, once you do one Z phase and one Mug phase, until the boss hits 40%, in which it just does a fight that you can learn, right? It just does repeated mechanics when it bloodlusts. It just repeats the same. You learn the whole fight in the first, like, minute and a half, and then you just repeat that. Right? It gets a little harder. The boss, like, gets a little extra stacks and stuff, but, like, it just did nothing changes until 40%. So it's actually pretty easy to learn those fights. Because you don't have to learn, like, P1 and a P2 and a P3. You literally just are learning 100 through 40% all at once, and then it repeats. You learn all those lessons, and they continue, and there's no more lineups. They're the same thing. So in a way, it's pretty easy to learn bosses like that because it's designed to be learned easily, right? Opposite of Silken Court. It was decently hard on testing, though. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Muggsy was like halfway through rework. Guys, I'm not even making this up. Muggsy, the week before we tested it, had a mechanic to where when anyone in the room changed to Z's side, they got a 50-second dispellable debuff that if it dispelled at the same, like, height Z-axis as anyone else in the room, it would kill everyone. And everyone would get one. So every minute you would have to swap over 20 people, which means 20 dispels a minute. And if you fucked any of them up, everyone died. And then when you swapped to Mug's side, every time you went over, 6 seconds later, you dropped a fire tornado that sucked everyone in that direction. So there would be 20 sucks a minute. Or I guess if you would have sent people over in groups, it could have been like a stronger suck less times a minute. But, like, you're getting the idea, right? Totally different boss than you watched or maybe did. And this was only 1 week later. So this is 1 week after a massive rework. So clearly the boss is not, like, fully put together yet. So I would delay many opinions about Muggsy until you see a little bit further. You know what? I think we might delay this Dratnos thing. I think we should... One second. You want to do this shit this weekend? Because I think it's gonna be hard to rate Mug specifically, since it's probably giga diffy. Actually, I don't know. Like, I think it's probably a lot of the concepts are gonna change. Like, I think what they like on Muggsy is like, hey, we're giving you these mines and we want you to deal with them with the mechanics from Mug or some of the mechanics from Z, and everything like uses something from the other side to deal with it. You use the finger gun thing to deal with the, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think they're probably going to continue with that. That being said, I don't think that's an awesome fight. So that's why I think they could rework it, because I think it's just kind of whatever. Someone in chat asked, do you really talk like that in real life? What? You're talking to me? Talking to me? Yeah, I think so. Wait, is that an insult? Like, do I sound like an idiot right now? What are you fucking talking about? Like, bro, do you actually fucking sound like that, man? Well, yeah. Fuck. I think he's means because you said diffy. Oh. No. I definitely change up how I talk depending on who I'm with. Like my girlfriend, for example, doesn't like play games like that. She like plays board games, plays some like It Takes Two, Overcooked type shit, but she's not like a deep PC gamer. So I don't like use turbo as like a I don't use like, you know, I like change the way I talk around her and my family and like other people like that, but then on like I wouldn't say diffy. Actually, maybe I would. Fuck it. Diffy's nice. Yeah, code switch. That's all. Just a little code switch. So you're fake. I don't think I'm fake to anybody. I just like change the way you're talking, you know, a little bit, little code switch. Like, for example, if I say like something is turbo good, all of you guys know what that means. But if I said it to someone who wouldn't know what that means, I would have to like explain it to them. And then that's just like, although I have explained to her what a lot of things mean, and that's been pretty fun. But I don't know. I just like don't do it in real life. You guys don't do that. You guys don't like speak with like your gaming friends online different than you would speak with like someone you're going to class with or like someone in real life who doesn't play games. I feel like it's like super normal to do that. Or your family. All right, I don't even know why I'm fucking talking about this right now. Anyway, so we're retesting. Did all of this entire conversation come off of me reading the retest? That is, guys, I'm fucking back. I am so back. I've taken some time off streaming, bro. I am fucking all the way right back. It's like riding a bike. Just giving you 20 minutes of content off of just a couple of sentences, baby. Holy shit. All right. Dratnos said, yeah, sure. I got TGP casting can after. Oh, shit. Yeah, we can just like do that after the TGP. I won't watch that anyway, so I'll like go live after it. I think you actually talked yourself out of doing the content in the stream title. Well, it's just that, like, this is a YouTube video that people will be watching for the next month, and it's me and Dratnos raiding raid bosses, and I feel like we would be raiding a version of Muggsy and potentially Rick Reverb and Cauldron of Carnage that are, like, totally different than what goes live. So, like, why not wait a little longer so it's more accurate and future-proofed? I think that is just a smart decision. Also we have a ton of shit to go over today. Apparently someone made a think piece on how to fix Mythic rating. Those are always fun. They made a huge Mythic Plus post, and I bet there's a bunch of reaction to that. That'll be interesting. I need to call Dorky and have him fill me in on the most recent classic drama. I always am a little behind on that. I don't pay attention to that. Wait, we came in third in that Plunderstorm. Bro, Pika came in second, and we came in third for the second straight Plunderstorm tournament. We were just the best two teams both times, and then just some team just fucking wins in the last game. W. How much money did I make, though? It was a 50K tournament. I think first place got 12.5K. Second place got 10K. What did third place get? I actually don't know how much money I made. I mean, they paid us to go just to do it. More than the prize money, which is lit. first was 25K. Yeah, 12.5K per person. So yeah, 25K. And the second place is 10K, so 5K per person. Doing mess. Bro, if I'm Sea-Doo and mess, see, that's why that whole situation, it actually made sense why at least some people were heated about it, because, like, imagine you're Sea-Doo and mess, bro. You don't get invited to the first tournament. And there was a lot of people not included. Shout out Dratnos. But, like, Sea-Doo and mess were, like, definitely, Sea-Doo especially is, like, by far the biggest omission. Like, the biggest name that should have been there that wasn't there. So then they finally get invited to this one, bro. Redemption Tour, right? And they weren't like, they were good. They weren't like the best team. I think Pekanzar were the best team, and I think we were the second best team, as showed by the standings in both tournaments. But then Sea-Doo and Mez, they were gonna win the game that mattered. It would have been a 2v1 versus Gingy without any like weird lightning shit, right? Now, don't get weird. Anyone, including Sea-Doo and Mez, if they realized lightning was not spawning on them, would have stayed in that exact same spot as well. Let's keep it a buck. It would have happened. Let's not get weird about that. But it is definitely true that if you are in a 2v1 at the end and you end up dying because you are running around from infinitely spawning lightning and the person who wins is just in a spot where that doesn't happen, that does suck. Like, they would have won. That's true. I mean, you can 1v2 that late in the game, but, like, the idea that anyone would be able to outplay, like, to 1v2 late game, everyone's at full HP, everyone has a late game build, you have to be way fucking better than both of those other two people to do that. And Gingy's probably really good at Plunderstorm, but he's not way fucking better than Mez and Sea-Doo, right? Like, they would have won that game. What was going to happen in the end if Trill stayed up? Like, if Trill didn't die? What do you mean? Oh, if Trill... I mean, Trill probably wouldn't have stayed up there. He probably was just trying to find a space to heal because we didn't know about the lightning thing. But are you saying, like, lightning's... Because Trill was up there minutes before lightning spawned, by the way. He just jumped there from a jump pad. I left him in the gas and landed there and tried to heal. But I'll tell you... Are you asking me what would happen if either one of us, or let's just go ahead and say anyone in the lobby, ended up on a perch that wasn't spawning lightning? We would have fucking stayed up there. Everyone would have done that. Like, everyone would have done that. Like, that's why I don't even understand why it's a... Like, I understand why it's a controversy because, like, Mez and Sea-Doo feel bad because they got fucked, and they did. That is true. But that doesn't mean that, like, there's someone to blame. You can blame Blizzard, I guess. Gingy didn't do anything wrong. Dude, I saw someone type in chat, the only honorable thing to do would have been to jump down and, like, honorably fight the 1v2 at the end with, like, $25,000 on the line between first and second. Yeah, bro. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, that's a really easy thing for a fucking viewer to just type, but, like... Like, I'll tell you right now, bro, if I, like, died where I died, like, Trill died before me, but let's say Trill is up there, doesn't get knocked down, and he's staying there and just pokes people, and I die downstairs, bro, I would be screaming at Trill to just stay on the fucking perch where no lightning is happening. Why the fuck would you ever leave? Even regardless of the lightning, you just have high ground. He had a poke build and high ground. You just stay up there. What is it? Third place of the Plunder Tourney was 5K, so 2.5K each. Damn. They also act like he had the hindsight in 3 minutes to think about doing that in the moment. Yeah, people also unironically think that Trill was in that spot not because he jumped out of the gas on a jump pad at like 1 HP to just land anywhere where he wouldn't die, but they thought he was standing up there to AFK for multiple minutes to intentionally not die to the lightning later. For some reason. Even though He would once he would have, he hopefully would once he would have realized that lightning wasn't spawning, but he obviously didn't fucking know that then. They deduced that from one clip of him just already being there for like a couple seconds, minutes before lightning spawns. What is it? Hasn't it come out that they did know about it before? Someone in Echo did it one stream before. Bro, who cares? Is it different if they knew that lightning didn't spawn there and then they used the spot that Blizzard put in the game that everyone else has the opportunity to in a tournament for money versus accidentally finding it out in the game? There's no difference. There's zero difference. Because the correct play in both decisions is to go there to win. Get mad. Stay mad. I don't get why this is discussed. Everyone who wouldn't use the spot when being there is either lying or a moron. And on top of that, it's a meme tournament. Is this a tournament where they invited the 60 best Plunderstormers on Earth to see who the best one is and do it by points? No. They got a bunch of random creators, half of which didn't even, like, live past 1 minute in any game. Right? Like, it's just, like the format was not intended to be super competitive integrity. It's supposed to be hype and fun and crazy. That's exactly what it was. Like, no one cares. Someone in chat, of course not. I wasn't there, bro. I know. When I saw you weren't there, I knew that shit was gonna be easy. Bro, I fucking messaged Peekaboo after the first game, bro. Peekaboo and Czar like went hard after me and Pika, and I put Pika in the fucking dirt, bro. Look at this. I fucking messaged him this after the first game. You're so fucking done. Stay small. Plunder with Pika. I've done duos with Pika one time. It's very fun. Pika's is very fun. What is it? Pika was so tunneled in on Trill, bro straight up left Zara to chase. Yup. Sometimes you gotta go for the kill, bro. I'm actually really surprised they went for the builds they were going for, like Slicing Winds Axe or Slicing Winds Fish, which is like fast and good for farming kills, but like legit dog shit in late game. But like getting early kills doesn't matter. You just like, you know, you're going to be one of the top 3 teams when it's time to win, and it's just like risky. But they ended up winning a bunch of games. Obviously they did great. They're really good. They're probably just better than everyone else in the tournament. They won more games than we did. They just like getting kills. I mean, honestly, I can kind of see that with how many viewers they have. They're definitely like, you want to give the people a show, right? Just play super aggressive, super greedy, and just like fucking bite people. Dazer's stream needs God. All right. What are we looking at here? So this is what he's actively doing, and everything else is... Oh, he's actually streaming his cam, too. You can't see that because of my cam. I'll move my cam. So that's him in the bottom left, I believe. He has a sub goal. And then he just has a bunch of dopamine. Bro, this is like TikTok brain. This is how like fired up and Shaq think is what this stream is right now. Wait, he has the bench podcast on here? Where? Oh my god, he does. You can see his other monitors. He's listening to the bench and he's watching Northern Lion. Bro, fuck you. I'm just gonna hit him with a quick fuck you in DMs. When's the pod? I can't record tonight. Tomorrow I'm filming all day, and then I have a game later, but I could, like, come home around, like, 5 or 6 and maybe record. That could work. Yeah, this is pretty cursed, eh? Wow, that was the most Canadian, eh? Okay. Alright, so what's next? So I'm gonna need to find some time to eat. Soon. Fuck, bro. Someone in YouTube chat, did you see Kush from Echo talking shit about you yesterday night? No, that's so random. Link it to me. Let's create drama. Yo, we need Dorky to fill us in on the classic drama. That's one thing. I saw so many people posting about drama yesterday. Yesterday's drama was shitty. The only thing I heard was that it seemed like a lot of the WoW Classic streamers were like a little insecure about Tyler 1 getting way more viewers than them, which actually totally makes sense. That lines up. That like totally accurate. But I don't even know if that's true. Mad at the true war chief. The now Scripe and Zalia drama is way more juicy. I read a little bit of that. Honestly, I don't even think that was that juicy. Like, so Scripe is the leader of Echo, right? He has his org's interest in mind. If, like, you are someone in the org that has any kind of allegations, you are a big threat to, like, a lot of sponsors and stuff like that. You have to do certain things. And that's probably the perspective he was looking at. He has to protect the brand. He has to protect the other players. He has to protect their ability to make money, right? But, like, now is Zalia's, like, really good friend, right? So, like, at that point, it's just about trusting the person. And now, I don't know, I didn't even read most of it, but, like, totally makes sense for him to be like, you guys left him out to dry. I feel like a lot of people feel like they left him out to dry. A lot of people also think he should have been removed, right? Not people within the guild, just, like, community. This is common sentiment. Yeah, I mean, what, now was being emotional, Scripe was being logical. That's kind of the vibe I got from it, but also, like, both of those perspectives totally make sense. So that's why I don't think it was juicy. Those are two people acting exactly as they normally would or should in that situation. So I don't think Scripe had a choice. From, like, someone who's also, I'm not, like, I don't run, like, Liquid the way that they run Echo, because they're, like, their own org. Like, we have some extra support in areas like that, but, like, I've been in situations like that, you know, like, you don't have a lot of choice. Right. What is it? That was, like, a situation where both Echo and Zalia could have not done the wrong thing in theory. Oh, Echo and Zalia. Oh, I certainly don't know nearly enough about that situation to determine who is right or wrong, especially involving the actual party. Like, I just don't know anything about it to say that for sure. That isn't my business. His crash out on Twitter recently was emotional, though. Who's crashing out on Twitter, bro? Scripe? What the fuck was Scripe crashing out about? Dude, I miss all the Echo shit because I like mute them during the race and then I forget to unmute them, so I just never see anything from them on Twitter. Scripe crashed out about people giving him shit mostly. I mean, okay, but again, talking about like people doing normal things. Like, can you imagine if you're okay? Imagine you're Scripe, right? Imagine you have all this information about him and all the accusations and stuff, and you feel like you as a team of officers or whoever, him and Roger, I don't know who, like made the correct decision, and they did what they had to do, or they needed to do, or they felt confident, convicted in their decision that they had to remove him. But just imagine like people are like constantly shitting on them for doing that, and those people don't know as much as them, which is certainly true. Like, I guarantee you people who had looked at it at Echo know more than the Twitter user that's defending Zaylee or anyone, right? Like, don't you think that would make you crash the fuck out? Like, if you just kept hearing that all the time? Like, I mean, I feel like that totally makes sense. I mean, I've dealt with stuff like that. I've had people, there was someone we kicked like many years ago. It was like not like a player, it's like an organizational person, and they were just making hella shit up. They were just like straight up lying about why we removed them and stuff that was happening. They left out infinite information, and we had people like bringing it up in my stream. We had people bringing it up on Twitter. They're like adding the org, being like, bro, how are you, like, how could you treat this person this way? And it's just like, this person was so fucked up. Like, but like as an org or as a person, it never makes sense to even bring it up or talk about it, because it's like, you're never going to come out with all the information and say like, oh, this person actually did this and this and this, because like you're already gone with them from your organization. None of that matters. It's just like the other person's just like swaying public opinion with lies, you know? But like, there's no reason to actually talk about it. Like, I never crashed out about that on Twitter, but boy, could I fucking relate to wanting to. It's just fucking annoying. Like, imagine this general sentiment. And this doesn't even have to be an org or anything. Just imagine anyone out there is lying about you or your brand or your team or your friends, and it doesn't make sense for you to respond to it, but they just keep saying it. And there's no positives from responding to it. And they're wrong. Wouldn't that, just that premise, wouldn't that make you crash out? Couldn't that make you crash? Maybe it wouldn't, but couldn't it? Can't you? I mean, that kind of makes sense. Feel like most people could relate to that. What if it, imagine every day on the way to work, 15 people approach you and ask about it, because that's what it's probably like when people in chat ask. Yeah, kind of similar. Yeah, I don't know how he ended up talking about that. I guess someone mentioned the like now and Scribe thing. I saw like a few snippets of it, but my only takeaway is I feel like both of those people have a right to feel the way that they feel, and that interaction, it was not surprising at all. Max, I'm glad to see Mr. Disco back on the team. Yeah, he's been great in testing. All right, so I'll probably read the Mythic Plus post, and then we'll react to a YouTube video so I can eat. Actually, is it time to eat now? I think it might be time to eat now. So, is it the Tettles? Did Tettles make the video? Mythic rating needs a change. All right, this is what we'll react to. We'll react to this shit. Any shot Ben is coming back this tier since he couldn't last time with PoE? I don't think so. I think Ben and Evade probably won't raid here until the requirement to raid at the Race to World first level doesn't require you having like 12 plus characters, which totally reasonable. In fact, it would make sense for us as a guild to let them only play with 3 or 4. But both of them, and you guys could probably relate to this too, they don't want to be that person. They don't want to be the raider that's like raiding with a bunch of other people that have 12 and 13 characters to make up for the fact that they only have 4. Like getting any kind of special treatment or stuff like that. Like they just don't want... No one wants... That's weird. Like people will resent you for that. And even though it's the best thing for the guild, it's still not... Like no one wants to do that, right? All right, anyways, I'm doing let me make some food real quick, and then I'm going to do this. Max, what is the reasoning for 12 plus characters? Sorry if you haven't. I'll give you a short answer. Gear good. Options good. That's it. That was a YouTube comment, by the way, but I read it because I fucking love YouTube. Absolutely love it. Or make Mythic the same as Heroic, no more unique lockout like Mythic currently is. Yep, that would be a good change, in my opinion, for most people. Hey Max, I'm a Melee player. On the Bench podcast, they talked about how the raid really isn't good for Melee because ads spawn far apart. Should I be worried and prep a ranged, or am I Gucci? So this happens every testing cycle where people do bosses in 1 hour and they like do it the way that like can get them the farthest in that hour, which usually doesn't involve melee uptime. But like after you do the raid on Heroic and do the raid on Mythic, usually you find a way to get melee uptime. Like basically here's what's happened. I have seen people say basically every raid for the past few years is dog shit for melee and testing for those exact reasons because it's not optimized. And then you just end up using a ton of melee in progression. So like this happens every raid. So I don't think there's really anything to worry about. Now, is it possible that like, hey, this always happens? But then is it possible that, hey, this does always happen, but this one raid, it actually was really bad because of fight design, and it turns out you ran like 4 melee on every boss for the first time in 8 years? Like 9 years was the last raid. There's only one boss in that raid. It was like 10, like... It's like 10 years ago was the last time where it was like normal to run like almost no melee. Like all the time. So wouldn't get too hyped about it. I mean, they are right. Like there are bosses where you do them in testing and you're like, dude, how are melee going to compete with range? Especially because like ranged right now is not the same as ranged in every tier. Like some tiers ranged actually, like tiers where Moonkin aren't strong, you don't actually really even have a good Starfall spread out profile. You don't have Shadow Priest being strong at like multi-dotting and target switching. Like, but like some of those things exist. So at least currently it could change with tuning and stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Stuff like that's always possible. But you know, okay, first of all, here's what's funny. Okay, so let's just say all of it's true. Let's say all of it's true. Let's say all the bosses we've tested are so good for ranged and melee stink. You guys know we haven't tested the last boss yet? So what happens if all you guys roll ranged because of a non-end boss, and then you just get to Gallywix, and it's really good for melee? Which there's basically no way to know until you do it. Now what? Right? So even if all those claims were completely credible and true, you haven't even seen the boss you'll spend the most time on and the most important one. So what are you talking about? Anyways, my food's ready. Be right back. Okay. Tettle's take. Mythic rating needs a change.
Mythic rating has certainly been in a better state over the past couple of years than it is currently. And this is kind...
Ooh, is that true? I think so. So, Brood Twister and Tindril are unique phenomenons that don't usually happen. I don't think that's necessarily... If there's enough information to say that, like, this is how rating is now. Because, like, you know, Fallen Avatar and Kill Jaden happened 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. And then it went right back to the way it was after that. You know, so like randomly super fucking hard bosses, rating is too hard now. That's happened. This is like history repeating itself. That's happened before. Let's hear what he thinks.
This point in time in which Blizzard is probably going to need to make a decision.
Oh, I realize now this always happens when I watch these videos. People are like, dude, stop. He's gonna go into it. Quit pausing. As always, here, I'll link the video. Definitely leave. And go watch it on your own if you don't want pausing. I'm going to pause all the time, and I might repeat myself, and I might go over what he's going to talk about. It's all going to happen. Just get out if that's going to bother you.
About the future of Mythic rating. Rating in World of Warcraft is probably the pinnacle or the peak content for what the game has been designed around for like the last 20 years. A lot of what the game has been very raid focused. Whenever you think about the best parts of World of Warcraft, you're thinking about some of the raids. You're thinking about Ice Crown Citadel. You're thinking about
Legion, like, Mythic Plus, BFA Mythic Plus.
You're thinking about Dragon Soul and how much it sucked. But a lot of the stuff...
Dragon Soul was good, bro. Dragon Soul, okay. It's like it's the last raid after Wrath of the Lich King, which was the most iconic WoW expansion with the most iconic WoW villain. And Deathwing was not as great of a villain, and the boss sucked. Both Spine and Madness were bad bosses. But the rest of Dragon Soul fucking owned, bro. It's so good.
That has been making up the fabric of World of Warcraft, has been surrounding raids themselves. And as time has gone on, Blizzard has made decisions that have improved the dynamic of how raiding works in World of Warcraft. And I think back, going from Mist of Pandaria into Warlords of Draenor, Blizzard made a very important decision, and they unified 25-man and 10-man raiding.
Yeah.
They unified it into one 20-player content as the hardest level.
And about that change, often not talked about, that significantly improved the quality of raiding, just in general. there was always randomly 25-man bosses that didn't make sense and 10-man bosses that didn't make sense, or it made sense for one than the other. Unifying it improved the integrity of like the average raid boss by a lot.
Prior to that, it was just heroic, and heroic was
Even
the
though it's much
equivalent
easier
of
to find
Mythic
10
in terms of
players.
just difficulty, but there was 2 different amount of players that you could actually zone into the raid with, whether it be 25 players or 10 players. And whenever they unified it, it allowed Blizzard to actually make the fights for an intended amount of people, and not having flexible amounts of people that are required for the fights really allowed Blizzard to hone in on the mechanics and make them well designed for 20 players. And I think that that was actually a very important decision for Blizzard to make. The downside of that is it actually ended up killing a lot of guilds. Guilds that only had 10 players really struggled to actually get up to that 20 player threshold. 25 player guilds, more often than not, were actually fine dropping down to 20, but some of those players got cut and maybe never returned to the game. And so there was actually a big detriment whenever Blizzard made this decision. And so for them, it was actually a pretty scary decision because they could see that potentially killing the game. But it was a move in the right direction for the health of the game, and the invention of Mythic rating, I think, was the correct one for Blizzard. Now, time has gone on. We're about 10 years after that decision was made by Blizzard, going from Mist Pendiary into Warlords of Draenor.
12 years.
And while I would agree that it was the correct decision at the time, as
11
time has
years.
gone on, rating really hasn't changed all too much since that happened 10 years ago.
True.
And as a result, rating is doing a lot worse this season than it really has in the past. For the last couple of seasons, it's really been on the downswing. And so we can take a look at some of the
Based on
numbers from
what?
Raider.io. Currently,
Let's get the data.
954 guilds have killed Mythic Queen Ansarek. If you end up adding all of the guilds that are currently progressing it, you're going to end up having about 1,700-ish guilds that killed it, about 1,650 or
Okay.
so. That's actually pretty low in terms of guilds that get cutting edge. Now, of course, not all guilds get cutting edge, but again, if you look at all of these guilds who are actually participating, it's actually not a lot. A lot of guilds are actually stuck at 4 out of 8, so haven't even killed Brood Twister or Nexus Princess Kaiveza.
Well, what are we comparing that to? So I think it's good to compare intro expansion raids to other intro expansion raids, just in general. I'm assuming he'll do that. But Shadowlands, Castle Nathria cannot compare. The game, this does not, it's not an indictment on rating. Like, Shadowlands was just Castle Nathria was a better raid than Erevar Palace. But the beginning of Shadowlands was like COVID. Dude, so many people were playing WoW. Like, season 1 of Shadowlands was so problematic, but still everyone says that's like their most memorable time because that's when everyone was playing it. And then Dragonflight launch was significantly bigger than the War Within, at least by metrics that I would look at. Like, I usually just go off Twitch viewership, which is probably not smart. But I don't know. I feel like my channel is a lot of things, but it is informative for like retail rating, and a lot of times my viewer count goes up and down based on how interested people are in specifically like any level of like decent PvE, like AOTC content all the way through like just getting like Keystone Master or something. Like, that's a general stuff. Like, those people I think generally watch my channel. So like I've kind of used that to gauge it, but that's not good for overall WoW population because like just such a massive part of the WoW population, like more than half would never even click on my channel because they don't even care about those things in the game, right? So I mean, but the thing is like getting overall raid clears, I don't think is a really good metric because so much of like who's even in the raid and who's doing it kind of like directly scales with how many people are playing the expansion anyway.
But this 2,000 number, and you're going to see this in the future, it actually isn't a lot. We don't really have that many participants in the raid this tier compared to where we have in the last couple of tiers, and we're going to kind of
look at those numbers
to the title of the video, but just give me a second to kind of cook on it. So then we start looking back at some of the previous tiers. You know, Amir Drassil, again, not a ton of participation. We had about the same number of guilds kill Fyrak that you're actually going to have kill
It's in the third.
Queen Ansarek, which is a little bit weird for the beginning of an expansion.
Interesting note, Season 3 Amir Drassil had more people playing it than Season 2, and that's the first time that's ever happened because it happened right after BlizzCon, and people were super hyped about WoW in general. It was a very hype WoW BlizzCon, and they announced the World Soul Saga. They are talking about, like, Classic Plus, Season of Discovery shit. Like, it was, like, huge, and you saw a noticeable bump in, like, Mythic Plus runs and all other observable metrics going into Season 3. So saying it's, like, an end-of-expansion thing is not super like honest because it's obviously an anomaly from what that normally would be.
You tend to believe that the beginning of the expansion is going to have the most hype and the most people returning to the game, and
also
more
good.
guilds are going to be forming at the very, very beginning of the expansion. But the fact that we're pacing to have about the same number of guilds killing Ansarek as Thyrak is actually very concerning. Then you start looking back at to older tiers. We have the first tier of Dragonflight, Vault of the Incarnates. About 2,000 guilds killed Razagath. Razagath, not an easy fight.
I think you could actually see... I think there's like bosses more than raids that end up actually like cutting down... Because his argument is about the raiding population. Mythic raiding needs a change because he's using all of these numbers to like assign some kind of like... Basically, if number of end boss kills is going down, that means Mythic raiding has made a mistake or is doing something bad or is falling out of popularity instead of overall population and seeing the trends between those two things, even though there's really nothing to look at for overall population. There's just, that's why this is difficult, right? But I think more than raids, there's like bosses. I think there are bosses that, if you're looking at that, what cuts down the raiding population? There's a couple systemic things. Used to be cross realm not existing was a huge problem. That's gone now. I still think the Mythic lockout being the way it is a huge problem. Cancels many raid nights. I think it's bosses like Anduin. Like, I think Anduin may have done more damage to the raiding population as a whole than any end boss has. Painsmith to a lesser extent. Skarn to even a lesser extent than Anduin, but for a completely different reason, right? Yeah, I think Tindral... I heard a lot of stuff about Tindral. Like, Tindral was a guild slayer. More because we've talked about it before. Like, you just get there too early. It's also very hard. The mid-raid wall. Yeah, the mid-raid. I mean, that's why my opinion of mid-raid walls are bad. Like, the main argument for why Tindral and Brood Twister are bad is not they were bad bosses for where they were in the raid or bad bosses in general. It was that they were too hard when you got there. For example, you could take the same guild of people, and let's say you fought, I'm just going to make up Tindral, on like the 6th week of the patch versus like the 12th week of the patch. You would have two completely different experiences on that boss. And you just happened to get there at the 8th, so your perspective on how progression went, how fun it was just totally different. It was worse, right? Yeah, so getting to, so you know that getting to bosses when you shouldn't be there yet is a problem. It's can only really make your experience worse. Unless you're like a really high-end raider, like you appreciate the mid-raid wall. But like, in my opinion, this is what raid difficulty should look like, right? Like, here's boss 1. Here's, oh, my camera's kind of in a weird spot. Oh, whatever, I'll put it up here. Like, here's boss 1. I've done this before. But then here's boss 10, right? It should just do this, kind of. Not exactly like this. There's probably like little hills and valleys and shit. But like, it's like, generally speaking, 1 is here, 10 is there. And then along the way, it gets harder linearly. And I think this means that when guilds get to bosses, they're more likely to appreciate them because they're at a fair level for their skill level, right? Not every boss will be fair for your guild, right? If you are a guild that gets cutting edge, if you get like top 200 world, like Hall of Fame, that's great, right? But if you fought Queen Ansarek, you may have loved Queen Ansarek at World 200, but if your World 200 guild fought Queen Ansarek in week 1 or 2, you would quit WoW forever. You know what I mean? It's just, you're not built for that shit. It's too hard, right? It's just a way different experience. You would not have fun. Now, what the mid-raid wall does, you would do this. You're like, the raid's getting hard. Wait, Painsmith happens. Woo, way up here. Oh, wait, okay, now we're doing Fate Scribe and Guardian. Way back. And we're going back up, and then the end boss is like harder than the mid-raid wall. But like, this situation right here, I just don't understand the argument on why this is good for the game. I don't get it. Because you can still have this boss. You can still have the boss that's this hard. You just put it over here. Put it over here, where it needs to be, later in the fucking raid. right? Why is it here? Why are you asking people that were good enough to do this to do that? Oh no, I'm almost making balls. Okay, it's all good. But using, you know what I mean, right? Like, it's like, I don't understand. I've never heard a credible argument for why a mid-raid wall is a good thing, because I think it creates that tension.
A very difficult encounter. But, I mean, look at this. There's more guilds who are actually participating in the Vault of the Incarnates raid. And so we've kind of seen that drop off over the last year. In addition to that, again, first year of an expansion, but we've seen a lot of drop off in terms of the amount of participants that are actually dealing with the raid. And then this is way more true the further back you go. You go back to Sanctum of Domination. Sanctum of Domination had 2,000 guilds kill Sylvanas, while a ton more guilds were actively participating in the raid. I mean, look at the amount of 1 out of 10, 3 out of 10.
Even on a patch as bad as this patch, you still just had people playing in the middle of COVID, man. It's like incomparable.
5 out of 10 guilds. That's
incomparable.
I mean, these are insane numbers. You go back to Castle Nathria. Castle Nathria is one of the most popular raids of all time. They had nearly 2,700 guilds kill Sire Denathrius, and thousands
but what's the
more
argument,
participated in the raid itself.
Like, I don't think, okay, Castle Nathria is probably the best raid since, I mean, in the past 4 years, 5 years, Castle Nathria is the best raid, right? Like, I think. Has there been a raid in the past 4 years that's better than Castle Nathria? I don't think so. So it is the best raid in a while, but also it's fucking prime COVID, bro. Like, this, I don't know what kind of argument I mean, maybe he'll bring it up, but it sounds like the argument he's making is like the fall off from Castle Nathria means Mythic rating has not like adapted or done well enough or changed enough, which is a take you could have and could be right. But I think if you're just looking at the number of guilds killing it, you're missing a lot of context. I think probably everything in the game, Mythic Plus, PvP, questing, mount farming, raiding, participation levels, and all of those things probably linearly scales with the amount of people playing the expansion. Like maybe in some patch, but the problem is that might be true, but maybe also raiding is specifically siphoning players, or Mythic Plus is, people felt like Mythic Plus was dead this patch, right? And then a lot of the graphs kind of didn't show that, but it felt that way, and maybe it was that way, but like there's not enough concrete information to actually definitively say it. But it seems like the point of this video is that Mythic rating being the way it is and not adapting or changing or being the same way since WoD is the reason why less and less people are playing. But I would, sure, maybe. I think there's been 2 like really problematic raids in a row, specifically problematic bosses in those raids, not the raids itself. But I don't know if that's true. I think there's probably just less people playing now in this raid, in this season, than every raid they've talked about here, even ones that were later in the expansion.
Just on Mythic. And so, you know, you had well over, it looks about like 10,000-ish guilds participating in the raid, and which is a crazy number. And then you go back even further and you are getting even more and more guilds. As you can see here, 2,100 guilds killed Gahoon, but a lot more guilds were actually at this 1 out of 8, 2 out of 8, 3 out of 8.
I mean, the fact that the amount of guilds killing things has only gone down by like 10% in like 6 or something years through COVID rising and falling, I feel like that's making the opposite
level
argument.
Where they were, you know, participating in Mythic, but they weren't going to be killing that many bosses. You look at the Nighthold. The Nighthold is actually the most popular raid that I could find on Raider.io. 2,700 guilds ended up killing Gul'dan.
That's insane.
While thousands more were actually participating.
Nighthold goated raid. But also, that's, I mean, Legion was really popular, but bro, that's like not even COVID. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
And so, just over time, as you can see here, Nerebar Palace is a very unpopular raid for guilds that have just gone into the raid. Just not that many guilds have wanted to participate in the raid. And I think it's about time for a change for the landscape.
I don't know if you
how
could glean
raiding
that
works,
information.
just in general.
I'm not opposed
And
to
I
that
think
information being
for
true.
me, and this is the
I just
thing
don't
that I
know
would
if that-
propose, is it's
I don't-
probably about time to bring back 10-man. And I understand that there's going to be big problems with bringing back 10-man.
Not to mention that he's talking about cutting edge guilds by the end of the patch. He referred to some Shadowlands numbers. Bro, Shadowlands cutting edges were like 2 months longer. They were like 30% longer or something.
Like I talked about earlier, I think it's going to kill a lot of guilds.
That's going to add a
Going
lot
from
of cutting
20
edge
players
guilds.
to 10 players is a big jump.
Dragonflight
and so some of
would be
those
a much
players are gonna
better
get cut,
comparison.
and they're likely to be quitting the game, which I think is actually a really bad thing. But I just don't see a path forward for raiding in World of Warcraft that doesn't involve changing Mythic down from 20 players to 10 players because the population
Oh.
and the amount of people that are participating in Mythic
figured it would go
is
this way.
shrinking every single tier, and it's gonna kind of come to a head over the next couple of years where something massive is going to need to change. The reason that I think that 10 man is probably the correct size, first and foremost, it's just going to be a lot easier to get groups. I think that every guild has kind of seen these AOTC guilds that have 16, 17, 18 players, and they always talk about getting into Mythic. When are they going to get into Mythic? They're going to be getting into Mythic soon. Surely we're going to be getting into Mythic next week once we just recruit other people. And those guilds, more likely than not, are never going into Mythic. They're never going to be able to get up to 20 players. But here's the thing. There's going to be guilds that always struggle to get full rosters of recruitment, but it's a lot easier to get 10 players than it is to get 20 players, and there's a lot more of an intimate...
I wonder how much this season particularly, the first 4 bosses being as easy as they are, and the jump after the first 4 bosses being so significant that when you're looking at overall who got cutting edge is maybe not a good metric, because isn't there less of a reason to get cutting edge for even gear purposes? Like, if you can easily get a 2-box in Mythic that can drop every tier piece, that drops most off pieces, couldn't you just be like, we're just going to do this, and then the jump in difficulty just is not worth the gain of the Mythic items we get, right? Like, I feel like that could also... You'd have to look at like the first 4 bosses versus other stuff, but like I also think that's a phenomenon that'll be really interesting next year when the bosses early are way harder.
feeling with 10 man than it would be with 20 man. With 20 players, it's a lot of, these are my guildies. Whereas with 10 players, these are my friends. And I think that
guys, I know there's a class tuning blue post. I don't fucking care. I'm gonna listen to this and then we'll move on and do one of those other things. I get it. Wait.
it's one of those situations where if you sit there and you think about it, I could reasonably get 9 other people with myself to actually form up a raid. There's no world where I'm actually getting 19 other people.
I'm
to
dorking
form
right
up a
now.
raid.
That's
And
what
that
I'm doing.
allows you to kind of
I
play
stay
Mythic
dorking.
raiding at a different way, where it's going to be a lot easier to actually be able to get the people required, because Mythic raiding is so difficult and challenging that it does require people in voice more often than not, and it requires a level of coordination because it's the hardest content in the game, that getting 20 players every single day or a few days a week for is just...
We've done the 10-man raiding argument a million times. I personally wouldn't be a fan of it. I think 10-man raids are just not as good as 20. But I fully understand that like what creates a good raiding experience? Like, the boss that's in front of you, yeah, let's say the bosses in front of you aren't as good in 10-man. Okay, cool. But then you have like, you want skill parity. You want to get along with everyone. It's a lot easier to do that in 10-man than 20-man. For sure. I think if you were to make WoW right now, new game, if you were to make a new MMO that's just like WoW, if you're a developer creating WoW in 2025, raids are not 20-man. But I also don't know if the answer for WoW with 39 specs is to make a 10-man. I don't know if that's true, but I think it could be smart. My take for this for a while has been, you can easily test this. You don't have to commit to a brand new raid being 10-man. I think you could do... They talked about doing, like, more mini raids. What I'd be a fan of is new raid comes out, right? Let's just say casino raid. Cool. Next patch. Casino raid goes great. Everyone's loving the casino. Vibes are awesome. And then, like, for the 0.0.7 or 0.0.5 patch, just put, like, a 10-man couple boss raid. Why Crucible of Storms was bad that early was because it was made for the people who had already cleared Battle of Dazar'alor. So they made it fucking hard. It doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be like, I don't know, somewhere around like a Sikran or Rashanan difficulty bosses, or maybe a little harder than that at the end. And the reason why 10-man works is because the reason you didn't do Crucible of Storms is you couldn't get all 20 people to log on over the weekend. But most guilds could maybe be like, hey, you guys want to do like... We don't normally raid Saturday, but you guys want to do like a Saturday raid with just like the 10 people who want to show up and want to like do this other content on top of what we're doing? Yeah, maybe that sounds fun. I think people would appreciate that. The people who are already done are probably going to clear it really quick, but I don't think that's the majority of like raiders you need to satisfy. I think you'd be able to see both things at once without hard committing to it, especially near the end of an expansion if you needed to. But I think it's worth trying for sure.
not really feasible for a lot of these guilds, and it ends up turning into like, a job and really difficult to play casually. in any capacity. And that's why I think that 10 players is going to be the correct amount, because there's going to be a level of bringing back this like casual hardcore raid this casual hardcore raider that we kind of see dissolve over the last couple of tiers, and bringing those back into the fray and allowing them to actually jump in and play for themselves. I also think that mechanics just frankly are a little bit too difficult with 20 players. I've been doing the raid testing recently, and it's a situation where, you know, the mechanics are cool for 20 man, and I actually like 20 man raiding. I think that it feels a lot of fun, but it's just too hard, I would say. A lot of the mechanics are pass fail mechanics, because that's the kind of mechanic that you need to design with a 20 man raid. Whereas whenever you go into like a 10 man scenario, you're allowed to like assign people very specific jobs, and it's going to be less pass fail in the entire group.
What? Sorry, I tilted my head sideways like a dog there for a bit. I don't understand how that's literally any different in 25 and
Less
10
of
man.
the
That makes
like
no
Anduin
sense.
style mechanics that just immediately wipe your raid. Less of those style mechanics.
But like being able to assign it to specific people is like more pass fail or the same, and you have less people to assign them. You're saying it's still pass fail, but there's less of them and less people to assign. Less confusing, maybe.
More of like the mechanics that you're seeing on screen.
He's kind of just yapping right now. Let's let him yap. Let him yap.
Specific mechanic, or doing a very specific thing, and a lot less just 20 player group coordination. And I think that again, the mechanics I think are just like frankly too difficult.
I mean, making the argument that raid bosses should have less pass fail like punishments for messing up a mechanic is true, but every reason he gave to change that or how 10 man would change that I don't think made any sense. But they are kind of doing that in this raid, for what it's worth. There's multiple punishes, like hitting the wrong polarity on a mine on Sprocketmonger, where like I think in a previous raid that would have just blown your brains out. You're just fucking turbo dead. But it only does like 9 million to you, which is like livable early in progression if you like were aware of it. But like it's probably gonna wipe the race to world first. But like you guys, when you have like way more eye level, that's probably not gonna kill you. You probably can still kill the boss if that happens one time. I think that's a great way to design these fights. You look at the damage number, and the damage number probably kills us. Instead of it doing 100 million damage, it does 9 million. We probably die to that, and you probably don't 3 weeks later, so it doesn't require a manual nerf of some kind. I think that's good design. They've done that a few times.
And this will allow Blizzard to kind of rein in what the mechanical complexity and the pass-fail nature of the mechanics are, and allow them to become, difficult, but difficult in more well-defined.
Max, imagine that a fail happens. If you roll a 1 on a d20, in 20-man raid, you're much more likely to have one player roll a 1 than if you only have 10 people. That's... okay. Yeah, but also, like, people love not doing mechanics. You love just hitting bosses. There's a lot of people who raid like that, too. And you can be in a guild where you just hit the boss because you'll just assign other people to do some of these mechanics. But in, like, a 10-man, you guys are going to have to individually do more mechanics. So would you even like that?
Ways. And I think that one of those ways that they could actually make mechanics more difficult, especially with...
Play the video already? Leave.
Players, is DPS checks. I think that DPS checks have largely died over the last couple of tiers because Blizzard actually has a hard time of gauging and estimating how much damage you're actually going to be able to deal. But with 10 players, you're going to have a smaller band of just like, what is the top to bottom DPS potential for this entire raid? And I think that will actually be able to allow bringing back more reasonable DPS and HPS checks into the mix. People also will probably bring up the argument in the comment section. Oh, what about class stacking and raid buffs? My proposal for bringing back 10-man, honestly, you could probably just delete raid buffs, and if people are going to class stack, they're going to class stack. I think within reason, most compositions probably should be...
Yeah, that's going to happen, by the way.
They're
going to do that.
At some point during the raid. Obviously, there's probably going to be some
that's
specs
definitely
that are very
happen.
good for that tier, maybe even potentially required. But that's just the point of doing Mythic, and I think that, if people are going to class stack, there's only so much class stacking.
Not even really a reason to talk about it. If you're ever going to come back with 10 mans, you'd have to find a way around that, or you'd have to pick 10 raid buffs. What are your 10 most common raid buffs? And that kind of like locks in a very specific comp. Blizzard's not going to get rid of raid buffs, unfortunately. But even if they did, Man, the last time there wasn't raid buffs in this game, there still was crazy class stacking that everyone felt like they have to do because the top guilds did it. But bro, you know how much more tier listy and meta gamey people have gotten since like COVID even? Like since it's been before 2020 since we last had raid buffs, bro. Even since COVID, the game has gotten more like that. I think there's a world like raid buffs. Raid buffs are actually usually mostly a problem in Mythic Plus. Like raid buffs and raid are like kind of everyone has one now, so it's fine, except for DKs, kinda. But like they're kind of non-impactful. They just force class diversity. I actually think the world where there's no raid buffs in a raid setting would actually be much, much more annoying for guilds. Because we would be able to class stack an absolutely insane amount. The raids would initially be tuned around us, and then like other people don't have that, meaning they have to nerf it faster, or people are playing classes they don't like to copy what we're doing. I think it could actually be pretty negative. I think raid buffs kind of, as much as I would be a fan of having more creativity in the comp we're running by having 0 raid buffs, I think the overall impact they have on the game as far as 20-man rating is concerned is a good impact. But I don't think that's true for Mythic Plus. But that can be solved a different way.
Do with a 10-man raid. I think that raid buffs make it really hard to recruit players just in general, because you're actually lowering the potential pool of players that you would be recruiting from, because you're not actually just recruiting the best available player. You're actually recruiting the best available demon hunter, which then you're reducing the amount of people that can
that raid buffs being gone would not change that, by the way.
Onto your roster. And so in general, I think that raid buffs over time have actually,
like, now the raiding community kind of spreads out to all those classes because there's an equal amount of demand for all of them. But if you change the demand for certain classes would be way, way, way fucking different without raid buffs, by the way.
Made it really difficult to actually recruit
especially
and
in 10
to
mans.
maintain guilds because of how that.
Bro, imagine like how many roars you kind of feel like you need for a fight now. That actually doesn't change from 25 to 10 man. It just means that more percentage of your group needs to be druids and shamans so you can actually satisfy that need.
That recruitment process ends up working. I would end up just like deleting raid buffs and say to hell with class stacking if people are going to stack whatever warlocks or whatever.
Where in 20 man it's only like 1 of 20 people
do
right?
it. The worst you can have is probably like 3 or 4, like before you can start griefing your raid. Now the final point I think is like the casual hardcore guild. Now the casual hardcore guild has over the last couple of tiers
what does that
actually
mean?
died off a lot. Whenever
what does that mean?
you look back at tiers like Castle Nathri, there were a lot of guilds that were just casually doing the raid, like 2 out of 10. Oh, my guild is 6 out of 10, and we were happy with 6 out of 10.
So casual hardcore means midcore? Yeah, but even that's made up. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Okay, yeah. Okay, so more guilds that are okay with just clearing the middle of the raid instead of clearing all of it, maybe, is what he means.
Very few guilds actually do this now. You do see a pretty big wall.
Really? Because I see an infinite amount of guilds doing this. There's 2,000 of them that were like, I'm cool 4 out of 8, and then stop. Isn't that your exact argument?
At 4 out of 8. Actually,
what were the Shadowlands numbers?
We were happy with.
It's now the same. 6 out of 10 is right before Sludgefist. That's right before the raid got super hard, and there's actually more people there now than there was in a COVID
Very few
raid.
guilds actually do this now. You do see a pretty big wall.
Bro, what are you cooking right now?
4 out of 8. But most guilds are either going to go in and get the loot, the free bosses, and kill the loot pinata bosses, or not progress the raid at all. And in the past, there were guilds that were fine with being 5 out of 10.
I appreciate a video like this, though. You have like a little bit of a point and an idea you want to get across, and then you just fucking yap, and you just keep yapping until it stops, and then you turn it off. That is a goated. That's goated.
And
that's
just
what
like
I do,
happy
bro.
with the results that they ended up getting. But as time has gone on, I would describe it as the casual hardcore guild has been negatively affected. And it's kind of a landscape of gaming thing where a lot of people kind of run into this thing where they're like, why try if we're not trying to be the absolute best, or we're not trying to get cutting edge or whatever. And I do kind of understand that thought process and that philosophy. But ultimately, it does end up hurting the player base long term by not having these casual hardcore guilds. Because at some point, especially to get...
Is that a common way to refer to these guilds?
Cutting edge, you have to have people who didn't
I've never
get
heard that
cutting edge
before.
one season, probably. Like, of course, you can jump straight from nothing into cutting edge, but like very few people do exactly that. And so I think that, kind of helping rebuild the casual hardcore guild, these people who are like, doing mythic raids on their own time just for fun.
All right, I think we're good. This thing's over in like 40 seconds. I think it's basically we've seen it. All right, so do you guys want to go over the Mythic Plus post now that I've eaten? Or do you want to look at the new tuning notes that just came out? Oh no, okay, they actually have specific posts. Yo, Frosty K's. Let's go. We're back. W. Actual W. Unholy DK buffed. Demon Hunter, Immo Aura, Sigil of Flame, Fellscarred buffs. Havoc looks like just buffs, right? Wait, little Soulscar nerf. Some fixes. Okay. Druid. Balanced Druid buffs. Feral Druid 8%. It's fat. Flame Shaper changes. BM Hunter buffs. MM Hunter buffs. It looks like. Maybe that isn't a buff. Okay, Frostfire buffs, Arcane, Barrage for Arcane. Really quick. This is fast. What was that? BM Hunter buffs, Rawful, they were OP. I mean, even in a scenario where a class is strong, until the class actually comes out on live, how strong or weak a class is doesn't really matter. Like, for example, you could take a class, let's just say theoretically they're 50% ahead of every class. You could still make changes that aren't an aura buff. Like, for example, if you were, it sounds like, I won't speak about class balance at all, but you were under the impression that BM is super good, right? So if BM's super good, if they did like this change, all ability damage increased by 8%, that would be like a, huh? Because that's like Blizzard saying, we think overall you need a little bit of a buff. But when they're buffing very specific things, what you can be doing is like just moving the damage into certain areas, moving the damage into Kill Command, moving it into Bestial Wrath, moving it away or to their 4 and 2 set. And then next week, there could be a change where they're actually reducing some things and they're actually just moving their damage around and not overall buffing them. Right? This is why you shouldn't pay super close attention to every... In fact, this is actually how PTR builds are done. This isn't like... When they put out a PTR build, they don't go around to all the devs and they're like, hey, is everyone done for this week? Cool. Let's launch the build. That's actually not how it works at all. They launch a... They're constantly working, right? And then a PTR build coming out is just a change in time. It's just a point in time in which they just launch the build. In fact, let's just say these are just half the BM changes, and they happen to be working on this literally right before they put out the PTR build or something, and later today or tomorrow, they planned on moving the damage away from other things and not into Kill Command and Bestial Wrath, and you literally only see half of the equation until next Tuesday. That is exactly how PTR builds work. So, getting super like tied up into very specific changes a lot of times, unless they have a dev note specifically explaining why they're doing something, is usually a mistake. Okay, MM stuff, we already looked at that. Have you been? Yeah, I mean, I've been there. I've talked to their community managers who put out these posts. Yeah, I have spoken to Blizzard devs about this. That is how that works, yes. I've actually had a conversation with a Blizzard developer around a post of something they were loosely interested in or loosely involved in, and half the thing got posted, everyone got mad, and they were talking about how they had to like panic put together a post to explain all of it because people only got half of it and got mad. That has happened within the last year. All right. See, Mistweaver stuff. I don't care about healers. W healer. Outlaw changes. Holy shit, warrior buffs. Look at that. Just huge buffs. Yes, it sounded like people thought melee were kind of underpowered, both due to fight design and also in general, but pretty massive melee buffs in this post. One melee got buffed by 8% in general. Others got 20 to 15% buffs on all their main abilities. Definitely that's Blizzard saying, we hear you. Melee is weak. Cool tuning. All right, Mythic Plus thing. So where do I find this Mythic Plus? Oh, here we go. I think it's this. Where's like the official Blizzard post? Here we go. Oh, this is way harder to read than the blue version. Okay. We're rolling out some changes to Mythic Plus with the release of War Within Season 2 and wanted to share a few more insights on what you can expect to see when those changes arrive. Over the course of the War Within Season 1, the development team has received extensive feedback on Mythic Dungeons, much of which revolved around frustrations, especially in trying to progress through the system primarily in pickup groups. True. Common areas of... That's always true. Common areas of criticism include the sense that players were faced with too many mechanics at once, that failure was too punishing, and that rewards felt insufficient for the challenge and effort required. All very, very true. That's like 90% of all complaining. And that it could be hard for many players to find groups as the community gravitated towards meta specs to help cope with these difficulties. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is true. This constantly gets talked about all the time, but I'm surprised Blizzard even mentioned it because this is something that will never not exist. This is something that the group finder creates as a function. If there was a group finder in League, an exact replica of the WoW group finder in League for solo queue, the exact same thing would happen, right? It's just by design, this is what the queue system does. So I'm interested that they're even mentioning this, because what the fuck are you going to do to even... I haven't read this yet, but like, what are you going to do to even solve this? You'd have to completely remake the group finder to solve this issue. There's zero way. The best tuning in the world could not fix this. It doesn't do anything. Okay, let's see. We have already approached our Season 2 dungeon rollout in PTR, and ongoing tuning with an eye towards addressing mechanical issues. Cast times on critical enemy spells have been significantly increased, tank damage spikes reduced in magnitude and or given better telegraphs, and the overall number of threats in an average pack of enemies has been reduced and more. Great paragraph. Because you don't have to worry about something not being hard enough, right? It turns out the Mythic Plus system, by default, infinitely scales. So even when all of these things are true, the best players or anyone seeking out a true challenge can simply go to a number of Mythic Plus level where that exists. Whether that's higher or lower, it doesn't matter, but people have certainly given the impression that like at every level it feels like it's too much, so that's good. I've also made improvements to rewards, and especially reducing the penalty of failing to finish a dungeon within the timer in the Siren Owl content update, but we understood there was still more to do in order to fully address the feedback we're hearing. Now, as we approach our second season, we have a chance to make some broader changes to structure and Mythic Dungeon progression. A factor that we see as an underlying cause of many of the cited issues is the lack of smooth and healthy difficulty reward progression in the current system, and the rewards are an essential part of that picture. Yeah, it's like basically you get a certain amount of eye level and it doesn't go higher. It's like hero track, and then also crest didn't really scale, but now those do. I wonder what they're citing here besides crest. That's interesting. The introduction of delves has significantly changed the endgame reward ecosystem. It's also reduced the amount of people doing Mythic Plus, because the people who used to do Mythic Plus from level 2 through 10 before they made the change on the Keystone levels are now almost exclusively doing delves, if not more people. And yet people are using like Mythic Plus participation graphs from before delves existed to look at like player-based numbers, which is just hilariously incorrect. Players who were accustomed to doing Mythic Plus in the fast few expansions geared up in delves, and then looked at the Mythic Plus reward track and found fewer no rewards worth their time. That had two main effects. Lots of players, this is just going to say players are trying to do content that's way harder than what they're supposed to do, right? And that is where they're, yeah, makes sense. Lots of players went into the system at Mythic 7, since they didn't need any more champion gear. Mythic Plus 7 was the first level to drop hero track items. However, often players frankly lack the dungeon experience required to succeed. Yep, it's way too hard for you. Dealing with a 77% bonus to enemy health and damage on top of this makes death more costly and was never designed to be an environment in which to learn mechanics for the first time, and yet many players ended up doing just that. This heavily impacted success rates, led to a sense of inconsistency, and made many players more wary and more selective in filling groups in their keys. Excellent observation. All of this is very true. Meanwhile, the keys in the 2 to 6 range had a shallow applicant pool, especially in the first 2 weeks of the season. This meant that there were players who even tried to start at a lower difficulty level in order to build the experience, but then had a hard time finding and forming groups. Facts. Well, I don't know. I didn't experience that, but that sounds like facts. So probably true. Looking ahead to Season 2, our aim is to make Mythic Dungeon more approachable. Cool. To that end, we're making the following changes. Baseline Mythic, aka Mythic 0 dungeons, will now award champion track gear from each boss with a weekly instance lockout. The health and damage of enemies in those dungeons has increased to reflect the improved rewards. Why the fuck was this not the case at the beginning of this expansion? Mythic 0 did this in Season 4 when we originally made these changes. Right? So why in the first season of The War Within would they have been lower? I mean, the only reason is they wanted to, like, emphasize delves, I guess. But, like, why completely sacrifice a thing that people have done forever that people like doing? I think that was a huge mistake. Okay. The health and damage of the enemies in the dungeons increased to reflect this. Cool. From 2 to 10, each new level will now increase the health and damage from 7% down from the previous 10. Oh, that's fucking huge. That makes getting the... I mean, that is a turbo fucking nerf from getting the portals, right? I think that's smart. Well, maybe they'll change this another, but that's a huge fucking nerf. Because I think... Oh, but base Mythic was buffed? Oh, true. So maybe it'll end up being the same round of 10. The Zaltest bargain rotating affixes will move up from Mythic 2 to 4, leaving no affixes other than the existence of a timer at the 2 entry levels. The alternating cycle of Tyrannical and Fortified will move up to Mythic 4 to replace Challenger's Peril affix at Mythic 7. And the other one continuing to take effect in Mythic 10. W. At Mythic 12, instead of an additional 10% increase to enemy health, will now include the increased timer penalty for deaths that was formerly part of Challenger's Peril as a replacement for the rotating bargain affixes. While the mechanic could feel overly punishing for groups still learning, yeah, I mean, I don't think this matters at all because, like, when you're doing keys above 12, you're doing high keys, and generally speaking, when you do high keys, if you have, like, a full wipe, you're just dying. And I think like singular deaths mattering more is fine, but like if you wipe already, it's cooked in like most of those. But that never should have been true for like an 8, right? So it makes sense that it exists past there. Although I still don't know if it needs to exist, but whatever. While the mechanic could feel overly punishing, whatever, removing the extra 10% stat should make the transition feel like less of a wall. Very good. The requirements to achieve some key reward tiers have been reduced. Hero track gear is now available from end of run at Mythic 6, and Gilded Crest are available from Mythic 7 and up. A breakdown of the new rewards look like this. Okay, so you can start getting hero track gear at Mythic 6. You still need to do a Mythic 10 for Mythic track gear from your vaults. Hey, why not? What would be the reasoning behind not having, like, Mythic 2 available from a 12? Just save some guildies. Some gilded crests. Is anyone opposed to that? I guess there's a reason why. Because, like, it does increase here. Why does it not continue increasing? It's kind of like because people see the highest reward from Vault and feel like that's the one they need to do, and then you would be having the same problem that existed in Season 1. You'll farm those crests and like it. It's not about farming crests, it's about it saving the total amount of crests you need to upgrade. But yeah. You're like making 12 the weekly keys instead of 10 by making that one change. And is that a bigger downside than the upside of some people who are already doing higher keys saving little crests? Probably not. Okay. On balance, this version of the system should have more rewarding. Okay, one additional note, and of relevance to players at the upper end of the system, we are changing the rating requirement from Keystone Legend achievement being added in Season 2, moving it from 2850 to 3K. This is being done to keep it at a comparable level of challenge and prestige after the changes to overall scaling. We'll also be decoupling this achievement from the system that allows players to set a floor for their high-level Keystones. Yeah. Instead, once a player has finished all 8 seasonal dungeons at Mythic 12 within the timer, their Keystone will no longer automatically de-level below 12. Once a player has timed all dungeons at a Mythic 13, the new floor will be 13, and so on for all key levels above 12. That's fuck. Oh, whoa. That's new. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Dude, am I reading this right? This means that, like, if you're a fucking high key player, you can just, like, load up 17s permanently. This is going to remove homework keys. So this is actually really interesting. Because I remember having the conversation with Mythic Plus players before about, like, would you like it if all homework keys were removed? And it's a very mixed bag. Like, people are like, I like that there's more to do, rather than just like, because, like, if you can just keep loading in a 17 of this key, it becomes kind of like Mythic progression, where you're just doing one key forever until it works. But overall, this sounds good. Dude, this is fascinating. I think this is probably the thing people are going to react to the most, at least from high key players. Not most Mythic Plus players. Most Mythic Plus players never do high keys. But for people who are doing high keys, I feel like this is like the biggest announcement in the entire fucking thing. And it's like after a colon in the last paragraph of the last thing. There will still be homework keys based on how different the highest level possible dungeon is versus the lowest. That's true. I mean, if you want to do a 15 of a certain dungeon, though, like, think about it. Let's say the hardest dungeon that's possible is a 15, right? Oh no, I guess if you haven't been able to time that on a 15 yet, and that's the hardest dungeon, you would only be able to do a 14. So there is some homework. But, like, you're not just going to deplete into the... I mean, it's definitely a good change. I mean, overall, the biggest change is this part, right? Well, I forget exactly where it is. It's the part where they say, we're making mobs do a lot less shit. I think that's the thing people are probably the most excited about. Less dangerous tank busters. Way less casts. The casts that matter are a lot longer. All of that is very good. Yeah, we'll see about that. I mean, dude, Mythic Plusters are the new PvPers, bro. Just like peak Dobby. They're just permanently mad. But yeah, but I mean, I feel like the whole, like, we'll see it type shit is if there's, like, a poll that's, like, really hard now, you can just, like, directly quote them and be like, this is not lining up with what you said, and then they can hopefully change it, you know? I feel like that's a good change. Max, what about Valor Stones? Get rid of them. Yeah, get rid of them or make them, like, way easier to farm. So get rid of them. Getting rid of Valor Stones, good. We like that. But if you're not going to get rid of Valor Stones, there has to be a way when it's the only thing. Because, like, Valor Stones are only really bad when it's the only thing you need to farm. And then when that happens, the ways you can get it are so sparse and it takes forever that it just feels terrible. And it's a terrible, like, you just don't want to deal with it. So you just need to make, like, targeted Valor Stone farming. Not Valor Stones you get passively through everything, although you could buff that too. Just wherever it's like, yo, I need Valor Stones, you need to be able to fucking stock up on that shit quick. But then you could ask yourself the question, hey, if Valor Stones are only relevant when you're out of them, and then they're frustrating because they're hard to farm, is fixing them being hard to farm the solution? Or is identifying the fact that the only time they're relevant is when you don't have them as a reason to say, why do they fucking exist? Really, truly, like, when are Valor Stones a positive, like, feeling? Is it the feeling of, like, constantly looting a resource by doing any content? That kind of makes sense. I think that's the only reason they exist. But, like, who, you know, I feel like you could just remove them from the game, nothing negative would happen. That's my opinion. But also, I don't make games, so I'm probably missing something, but that's what it seems like. Or put them in the shop so we could pay to win them. Oh, man. I wonder what the Asmongoulds will do if they do that. Part of me just wants chaos. And I just want them to, like, announce the most ridiculous shit ever. Or, like, not even announce the most ridiculous shit ever. But just, like, make it seem that way. So, like, everyone gets super mad. Like, do you remember, bro, this happened last expansion. They, like, updated their boost for mid-expansion, which they do every patch and every expansion, so the boost you buy is just closer to, like, the item level you're getting. But do you remember when Blizzard marketed it as a raid-ready boost? Does anyone remember this? Like, you would buy the boost, and they just called it raid-ready, and then it was, like, this... It was the only topic for multiple days, and everyone who doesn't play WoW, which is most of the people who are permanently mad about it on Twitter, are like, bro, there's no way you should be able to just buy raid gear. And I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. The raid ready boost gave you less eye level than the previous season's heroic raid. That's how low it was. But just because it was stated as raid ready, just it was like the biggest like self-report ever, because like most people who like constantly complain about WoW on Twitter or anywhere are people who haven't played it for a very long time, and it makes them happy to like blame this thing for the reason their life isn't the way it was, or why they don't enjoy games as much. There's like, or maybe they just miss being a kid, right? And then they like, that's the only way you could have possibly been mad about something like that, is if you didn't play the game. Because if you actually saw the eye level it gave you, and that eye level meant something to you, like, oh, I played last season, I see what that eye level is, I know what that means, there's no way you could be mad about it. Because why would you ever be mad about a boost giving you gear that's completely irrelevant? It's just a self-report. It's just a few days of self-reporting. So what I'm saying is, I wish Blizzard did that more often. I wish Blizzard announced totally normal things, but just like marketed it in a way where it seemed like they were doing something scummy or bad, and we all got to just sit there and watch the zoo. Max, you just want to see the world burn. Shit, maybe. Bro, I'm streaming today. Isn't that crazy? I have not been streaming a lot at all. Although most of that is because of raid testing, though. Like last week, guys, they did more raid testing in like 7 or 8 days than I think they've ever done in 2 weeks before. Like 2 full weeks. It's the most raid testing that's ever happened in once. Bro, after last Friday, I did not even want to look at a raid plan for days. I was just so fucking raid planned out. It's just so much at once. So, needless to say, I was not motivated to turn on my stream after hours and hours of meetings and bosses, and it's all very, like, it's, like, harder, like, honestly, I think it's harder than Mythic progression, because, like, when I look at, like, oh, well, I mean, during Mythic progression, I do this for, like, 14, 15 hours a day and then go to bed and do it for weeks. But, like, doing 6 hours of testing, including, like, meetings before and after, the bosses are changing, and it's the first time you're seeing them, so, like, the problem solving and the overall, like, stimulation is just completely heightened. Like, when you're doing 14 hours of raid, you're, like, progressing little by little and solving small problems you run into at a time. This is, like, infinite infinite possibility, you know? Holy fuck, it was... I don't know if anyone else did all of the raid testing in a top guild last week, but that was, like, extremely tiring. Max, someone in my guild told me that you might secretly be working for Blizzard, lol. I mean, I basically work for Blizzard. I, like, test a bunch of their fights live. But yeah, I mean, I'll buy into the conspiracy. Just clip that and just tell him that he's right. And then the fact that no one responds to it or freaks out about it will just turn him into the Joker because he feels like he knows something that no one else does. Okay, I don't want to, like, ruin his life. Does he, like, really think that? Like, does he think that in a mad way? Like, he's like, this guy fucking works for Blizzard and I fucking hate him. Is it like that? Or is it like, I think Max secretly works for Blizzard, just like blissfully unaware and just like having a good time and just said some shit. If it's the first one, I feel like I don't want to ruin his life. But if it's the second one, we could kind of mess with him a little bit. Bro, you are reading way too much into that. Welcome to the stream. Max, did you also work for Blizzard for 7 years? Oh, that guy stinks. What a stinker. We almost got that guy on our podcast, too. What a dodge. What an insane dodge on accident. All right, Dorky, if we need a new podcast, someone did respond just now that is a monitored suspicious user, and they said, I got some wild takes. So you know that they're not fucking lying about that. Because their wild-ass takes got them banned in multiple streams of very wholesome people. So, I mean, if we're looking to sow some discourse, that guy might have what we need. Okay, well, now I'm interested. He said, listen, listen, it was the princess scenario. Okay, I was initially going to just move on from this, but I don't know what that could mean. What does that mean? Oh! Oh, Spellslinger. And you're banned in Fired Up's channel? Alright, you deserve it. Bro, imagine Fired Up banning you. That's crazy. Additional liberation of Undermine testing this Thursday. Woo! Druid class talent tree and resto druid. Bro, if Blizzard wants to get... I don't know if Blizzard actually cares about this. Do you think Blizzard cares that like the eye level we're testing these bosses on is significantly lower than the ones we'll get when we're on there? Do they really care about healing and damage testing? They're probably looking at like, does this fight work properly? But we'll see less through the boss with less eye level, like the average testing guild will. So is that like... Is that a goal? I just find it interesting. Like, for example, we're testing with much lower eye level in this season than we do normally. I wonder if that's intentional or if they just didn't realize it. Also, I want to say, guys, I lied. I hard lied. I didn't mean to lie, but I did. So, the most recent raid testing post they did, do you guys remember how when they posted all of those dates and I'm like, and people are like, that's during TGP. I'm like, guys... Every single patch, we complain that they're posting things during TGP or MDI, and then they change it. There's no way they just did that again. That's what I said weeks ago. And then just this week, they posted it on Friday. Not during the time trials. Literally during the TGP happening. Like the broadcast is live. And then someone posted to them, and they were like, oh shit, my bad. And then put it on Thursday. So... I fucking turbo lied about that. They are completely clueless as to the testing schedule and when it is conflicting with things. That was just wrong. Hi, Max. Welcome back to the land of forever burning. You talking about WoW or California? Bro, we got crazy rain over the weekend. That is... It hasn't rained here in 9 months. I feel like... Bro, just imagine if it just happened to rain like 2 weeks ago instead of now and how much less destruction that would have caused. Rain makes the fires worse, I heard. Is that true? That, I don't know if that's true, but that kind of blows my mind if it was true. I feel like everything being damp and wet makes it harder for fire to spread. But also, I don't know anything about fire. similar to almost everyone who was giving their opinion on how California should have fought those fires a couple weeks ago. All right, so could stream for a little longer. I went through most of the stuff I wanted to talk about. I heard Frank made a video. What did Frank do? A tribute to World of Warcraft.
There's a video game that has changed
And it's literally Frank talking. It's a banger. Maybe we'll watch this.
my life in a way much more impactful than any other ever could.
Why are you Are you trying to sound sexy, Frank?
Warcraft is probably my favorite game of all time. But with that said, I have to
Why are you talking so quiet? Is someone sleeping in your room, or are you trying to talk sexy?
admit that it's way past its prime. In this video, we'll explore what made World of Warcraft such a special game to so many people, how that has seemingly changed over time, and why despite years of claims that the game is dying, it'll always have a special place in my heart. This is a tribute to World of Warcraft.
Wait, this seems like he's trying to do a summoning salt kind of video, right? That's the vibe I'm getting here. Right? Like, listen to the cadence.
There's a video game that has changed my life in a way much more impactful than any other ever could. World of Warcraft is probably my favorite.
The Simpsons Hit and Run, a classic game that defined a
Go get bigger. All right.
generation. You might think this isn't Mario 64.
Like right
Hit
here.
and Run world records.
Okay, like that little. This is just one video, and then here's how Frank did it.
This is a tribute to World of Warcraft.
I mean, this maybe is about some other. I mean, it's just good editing. He sounds like Mad Season. Who the fuck is that?
Right now, just cancel my brother's World of Warcraft account.
Ain't no way who'd Mad Season. Mad Season. Everyone's mad. I don't know who Mad Season is, and people are saying Mad Season's a classic Andy. Okay. Someone is as you guys are describing them, a classic Andy, and you are surprised that I don't know who that is. How is that surprising? I don't care about anything about classic ever. It's completely meaningless to me. How would I have known him?
What about World of Warcraft?
How would I have ever watched a video he's made?
When I was about 8 years old, I was over at a friend's house and his dad showed us his character.
You know who he is? You've watched his videos
level
before.
70
Oh,
human
shit.
age. He just so happened.
You've watched videos of him many times. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, maybe I just don't know the name. Mad Season.
There's a video game that has changed my life in a way much more impactful.
Frank, why are you
than
talking
I ever
sexy? All right, Mad Season show. Let's see what I've watched. Okay. World of Warcraft's most famous and infamous players. I didn't watch it. I clicked on it. Scrolling. What's a popular video of his I would have seen? Because we're going back 3 years right now, and I have not seen a single one. Sort by popular. Also, that's not him. Oh, this isn't him? All right, popular. Nothing, right? Dude, who said I've watched a bunch of his videos? You just fucking lied about that. Why? Guys, why lie? Why fucking lie? All right, anyways, back to the Frank video.
Be logged out right in front of Stormwind, and I think my entire relationship to WoW can really be traced back to when he first walked through those gates.
Dude, what a song.
That music, man. This led to months, if not years, of relentlessly begging my parents for the game until a glorious day where they finally.
Why is Franck talking like he's trying to fuck? Does anyone else hear this? Like, someone better have been asleep. Like, your girlfriend better have been asleep and you were like, I gotta work right now for some reason. Because, like...
Caved in and bought it for me. Looking back, I completely understand why they were so hesitant to spend such an absurd amount of money on buying the battle chest. A box that contained both the base version of the game.
Bro,
as well
are
as
you
Burning
blushing?
Crusade.
Fuck yeah, I'm blushing,
And
dude.
in
Sounds
case
like he's
that
trying to
wasn't enough,
fuck me.
You also had to pay a whopping $15 a month fee. A fee that, to Blizzard's credit,
I'm getting
they've
rizzed
somehow
up.
kept consistent to this day.
I don't want to, but it's
Installing
happening.
WoW back then was really an adventure of its own. It took countless grueling hours of watching the loading bar creep forward before I finally got to log in. And when I first saw that green portal on my own screen, it felt kind of surreal.
Wait, how is this not popped the fuck off? How does this not have hundreds of thousands of views? This is like... This is exactly what... I mean, actually, no. If this said a tribute to World of Warcraft being a dog shit fucking game, fuck Blizzard, then it would pop the fuck off.
At first, I really didn't know what I was doing. I'd create characters, get them to level 5, and then restart, because I didn't know what to do once the starting zone stopped giving me quests. Now, it's safe to say that my early adventures, like when I geared my hunter entirely in cloth armor because it had the most stamina and intellect, weren't exactly efficient. They were endlessly fun, and I look back on those times incredibly fondly.
All right, here's what we're going to do. I don't think I'm going to react to this on stream, but what I am going to do is I'm going to post this in chat, and if you guys have ever wanted to sub or donate to me or anyone I know or try to support us during the race, I need all few thousand of you to click on this video right now, and even if you're going to leave your computer, let it play with the sound on so it hits the algo for him. Everyone, I'm putting YouTube chat to you. Literally everyone leave this shit playing. That's better than me reacting to it, because this shit's got to blast off. Everyone watch this video. Do not watch it on my stream. Turn off the fucking ad block, too. Fucking watch the full ad if it's on there. Or if you have premium, blow up. Actually, he gets paid for premium. Already did it earlier. We'll fucking do it again. Spookers in YouTube chat. Fucking do it again. It counts as a view, big dog. Can we mute the tab? Only if that works. Don't do that. Fuck you. I didn't mean that. All right, anyways. I'll be live to Thursday, I think. See ya.